You know that feeling when you wake up already tired? You're doing all the healthy things, but your body still feels like it's running on empty. You're bloated and you just don't feel like yourself. Most women that I talk to feel like they've lost connection to their bodies. And it's not for a lack of effort. It's really because diets and rules have trained us to ignore what our body's actually asking for. So, today I want to share with you the three things every woman needs to feel at home in her body again. And here's the secret, it's not about doing more, it's about slowing down enough to focus, listen, and to create awareness. We're going to talk about what true nourishment looks like, why your nervous system is the missing piece for feeling balanced, and why information alone isn't enough. You need a container that gives you focus and accountability to actually implement these changes. So let's dive into the three things that will help you reconnect with your body in a way that feels simple, doable, and sustainable. Hey, my friends, welcome to today's episode. Before we get started and all the juicy stuff, I want to let you know that I'm hosting a free 5-day immersion starting next week, September 15th. It's going to be about the things I'm talking about in today's episode, but it's going to be a container in which we're going to focus on what true nourishment is for your body after 35. And so this will look like removing dieting conditioning rules. It will look like how do I actually eat in this phase in my life so my hormones are balanced and I have energy, my bloating goes away, and I can just feel like myself again. I'm going to teach live on the 15th, which is Monday, and then we're going to have the rest of the week together inside of my new community. And every day I'm going to go live. I'm going to teach you something small and implementable. But more than that, we're going to do giveaways. We're going to do some little challenges here and there, and we're going to have a lot of connection and ultimately a lot of fun because what's the point if this isn't going to be fun? And this is all free. It's an entire week long, and you can join by going to my website, mindfullywell.com/body wisdom, or just head to the show notes and you can sign up there. You can also head to my Instagram, which is at Melissa_Eich, EICH. And you'll see all about it in my Instagram profile as well. So I hope to see you there. So, today we're going to talk about the three main things every midlife woman needs to know to feel at home in her body again. And this is ultimately so important because when we are looking for solutions to feel better in our body, the world, the internet, the books, they're all going to feed us information. And this information is going to have very strict structure, rules, do this and do that. And that's a very natural thing that we go and we try to find because our mind wants that. It wants to feel very secure in its answers. Tell me yes, tell me no. And then I feel like I can confidently take steps forward and then boom, I'm going to feel better, right? But I mean, let's reflect on that. How often has that actually worked for you? Probably not very often or not at all because you're here listening to me today and you're wondering, should I sign up for this or should I not? And so, what I want you to know is that there are certain things that our bodies will respond to. Science related, yes, hormones respond to this way of eating. And if we can adapt our lifestyle and how we're eating to a way that our hormones will respond more fluently, easily, then we should probably do that, right? So I'm going to teach you that. I'm also going to teach you why hormones are the way they are at this point in our life and what they really do respond to, which is our nourishment, how we eat, also our nervous system regulation. So our nervous system is the command center, right? It's always telling our body, are we unsafe? Are we safe? And food restriction tells our body that we are unsafe. And that's why when we get to our mid 30s and beyond, why what worked before doesn't work anymore. And that's because our body has received so many messages that there's not enough nourishment here. There's not enough of what we need. So we go into nervous system dysregulation, which slows that down the production of hormones. And then we ultimately just feel like garbage. Right. And then add in perimenopause in there. And now everything's kind of a little bit on fire is what it feels like. And then lastly, we're going to talk about focus and having a place to have where we can just like create space for ourselves and create focus for ourselves so we can actually implement the things that we need to implement with practice. Because the truth is, the things I'm going to teach you today, and I'm going to teach you in our 5 days together next week, probably are things that you've heard me say before. Because they work, I'm going to keep teaching the things. I'm going to keep teaching you the things that work really well. I'm going to bring it home for you. So you might learn a few things here and there that you haven't heard me say before, but overall, these are all pretty like things out there that you'll see. But the thing that is different about this is the focus and having the actual space to practice and to try it on and to learn and to start to feel what our body is actually telling us. That is the thing that is missing out of everything that you've learned so far, is the disconnection from our body. And you know what's actually hysterical about the fact that all women out here are trying to just feel better in their bodies is that we have left our body out of the conversation. We've completely let our mind take over. We let our mind try to find all the right exact answers. We let our mind run the show. We let our mind also let us find wormholes here and there to the wrong way, right? And our mind screams at us when it's uncomfortable. And it's like, find a way out of here right away. And usually finding a way out means seeking more comfort, which means bringing you back to where you were before. So the funny thing is that we just have never checked in with our bodies to ask our bodies, what do you need from me? What is it that you're asking me for? Instead of ignoring our bodies, trying to find band-aid solutions, trying to mindset our way through feeling better in our bodies. We've completely left our bodies out of the conversation, which if we think about it, like that's bananas. That doesn't even make sense. We're trying to feel better in our bodies, but we haven't actually asked them. Like, not that it's a different part of you, but well, it is a part of you, but it's not like outside of you, right? But we haven't actually gone into our bodies really because we're afraid of feeling our bodies. Because many times when we felt our bodies, it meant we were feeling a lot of emotions. And there were probably times in your life when it was really frowned upon to feel emotions, when you were told to, be quiet, stop crying. Your emotional needs are unnecessary. Just use your brain for things, right? There were so many times when we just felt like, oh, my body, the emotions I'm feeling in my body, the feelings in my body were wrong. And so we just shut them off. And we become very disconnected and we just try to think our way out of all of our problems. And that's not really going to get you feeling at home in your body. Because if we never actually create the connection that our body is craving from us, then how are we going to ever know that we actually feel good? Right? We're so disconnected from our bodies that if I'm not willing to feel emotions or discomfort in my body, how will I ever be ready to feel good in my body? The answer is you won't. You'll never get there. You keep like swimming around looking for answers again and just trying to mindset your way through and trying to think your way through and trying to willpower your way through. That won't ever get you to that feeling that you really want in your body. So the main points today, let's start with the first point. Deep nourishment and blood sugar stability. These are like how we should be eating as women after 35 and beyond. Because when I say deep nourishment, that's like a fancy way to say like eat whole foods, stop eating processed foods. The processed foods that are marketed as health foods are just expensive processed foods. Like, I would rather you have a food in the most whole form. So let's just take like a piece of fruit with a handful of nuts. And let's say your protein content of that meal is like 8 grams because there's not like a specific protein food in there. I would rather have you have that food because your body knows exactly what to do with that food. It's very simple. Your body recognizes it, knows how to use it for energy. Then do a protein bar with an ingredient list as long as the New Testament and it has all these ingredients in it that nobody actually knows where to find those ingredients unless you're in a lab. And then we expect our body to turn that into energy. Like, that's a big ask for our body, and it's unnecessary. So I would rather have you choose food in the simplest form so your body knows how to use it and use it for energy, and stop putting junk in your body, even though it's marketed as healthy food. Eat ingredients. Stop eating processed foods. It is keeping you from feeling much better in your body. And it's such a simple fix. We try to overthink this process. And it's like, why are we trying to outthink whole foods? Just eat the whole foods. Stop trying to find problems with whole foods. Now, the next part is blood sugar stability, which, I'm a broken record. I'm just going to keep teaching about blood sugar stability until I die. And the reason is because this is what works for hormonal balance. This is what creates accurate hunger and fullness cues. This is what gives your body the fuel that it needs to create energy. Now, there might be something that comes in the future that just turns blood sugar stability into a less important thing. But right now, this is the information that we have. This is the science that we have. So I'm going to keep teaching it until it is dead or me. So what is blood sugar stability? If you haven't heard me talk about it before, blood sugar stability is simply the balance of your meals. So making sure that the sugar or the carbohydrates in our meal are being buffered by the three buffers in our plate. So protein, fat, and fiber. Those three things are nutrient related. They're going to give your body what it needs to function well, and they're going to slow the absorption of the carbohydrates and the sugar that we have in that meal. We want carbohydrates. We want sugar. Our body loves it. It's the primary source of energy. We shouldn't be cutting those foods out. But we want to have them in a way that allows the signaling of our hormones to be at ease and not chaotic. Because when sugar is absorbed very quickly in our meals, our blood sugar will go up very quickly, and then our blood sugar will come down crashing very quickly. And that action of a high blood sugar to a low blood sugar creates chaos inside of our body and our hormones. And so, when we think about hormones, we always want to talk about estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, but those are the ones that are going to respond to the chaos that's happening with your insulin hormone, which is responding to your blood sugar. So this is why it's so important to make sure that your blood sugar, that your meals are stable. So you're going to have your protein at your meals, you're going to have your fat, you're going to have your fiber, and then you're always going to have your carbohydrates and your sugar type of foods with that. But they're being slowly absorbed, so your blood sugar is nice and stable. The other thing about blood sugar stability is that this is not focusing on removing, it's not focusing on restriction. It's actually focusing on bringing things in. So you're bringing your protein in, you're bringing your fiber in, you're bringing your fat in, and there's no rules and there's no restriction. It's simply balance. Our bodies love balance. Our bodies are always trying to find homeostasis. So if we can do that on our plate and we can physically put that into our body, what is that communication giving to our body? We are in a balanced environment. Your efforts of finding homeostasis, my dear lovely body, are going to be very easy with this food that I put into you. Because if the main focus is bringing something in versus taking something out, which is something that we're very conditioned to, right? Take out calories, take out carbohydrates, take out sugar, take out fat, right? Depending on when and where you are in this lifetime is the messaging that you've been received on that. That is going to be hyper focused on the dieting. So like something is wrong with the food that you're eating, or that there's some sort of perfect version on a way to eat, or that there's a normal way of eating. There is no perfect way to create blood sugar stability. That's the other thing, is that you don't actually have to measure for a blood sugar stability. You can usually just look at your plate or your bowl, or just, visually look at something and know that it's going to be balanced when I'm teaching you these blood sugar stability kind of parameters or some structure here. It's not bad to have some structure, but we want to look at, is this a micromanagement structure, or is this some loose structure so that I know which way I'm going. It's like using a compass versus using a map. We want to use a compass to make our decisions, which means we look intuitively, we look inside of our body for the direction on which we're going versus looking at a map and saying, I'm going to turn at this block and then I'm going to turn at that block and then I'm going to take this little alleyway over here. And then from this alleyway, I'm going to go over here and then over here, right? Like we don't need that to make our food decisions. We don't need a map. We need a compass. And you know what is, here's something a little bit about me is that if you've ever seen my tattoo on my left shoulder, is that I have a compass there. And the compass is there for two reasons. And it's because I live by the saying of what you're looking for is a map, but what you need is a compass. And the other part of that is my my marriage vows, which we didn't pick out. We just honestly went to Jamaica and just got married by the beach with some random dude. And he picked out the Bible verse and it was beautiful. And it was where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. And so I thought a compass would be a beautiful thing to put there as well. But one of the ways that I feel most truest to myself is by remembering that saying is what you think you need is a map, but what you really need is a compass. And that nothing explains the concepts of what I'm teaching you more beautifully than that is to find your compass within you. You don't need a map to tell you exactly where to go. You don't need an exact macro calculation. You don't need an exact calorie. You don't need an exact eat this, don't eat that rule book. What you need is to check in with yourself and your body and ask it what it really needs and how it actually feels today. So how do we actually know that blood sugar stability is working? Like if you're not meticulously tracking things, or if you're not using a map to tell you the exact rules and to go here and there, like how do you actually know? Well, one of the things that I will also be teaching you inside of our time together next week is the hunger scale. So simple, so easy. Literally don't have to memorize anything. It's just a scale from 0 to 10. When you check in with yourself and see where your hunger is, you're going to be able to tell, was my meal that I just ate stable enough for me and my body today? And you'll be able to find the patterns of which your body requires more energy, requires less energy. Also knowing when your body's asking for food and nourishment versus when your body is asking for something else. How many times have we sat in front of the pantry and been like, I'm hungry and I don't know what to eat? That is a really big clue that you don't probably need physical nourishment through food, but you do need nourishment in some sort of way. And nourishment isn't just nutrition or food, it is also regulation within your nervous system, which brings me to our next pillar, which is your nervous system nourishment and regulation. So many times I used to talk about stress management because I didn't know what other words to use besides stress management. And now the words stress management are like nails on a chalkboard because we don't need to manage our stress, like actually, because that to me is like going on your Google Calendar and moving things around to like try to micromanage your day so you feel better. Or it's knowing that actually this came from Kate Northrup, if you follow her, and it made so much sense to me. Like you have dirty dishes sitting in the sink and you could go over there and you could like stack your dirty dishes on top of each other so it looks nicer, but your dishes are still dirty. What you need to do is you need to unload the dishwasher, put the dirty dishes in there, run a really heavy duty cycle and clean those dishes and then put the dishes away. That's what nervous system regulation is. We can't keep micromanaging our day in and day out and expect to ever feel better about our stress. It's not actually the stressors in our life that are causing us to feel the way that we are, which is overwhelmed, overworked, undernourished, overtired, right? We just are depleted. And it's not because of our calendars, although some of it is actually because of our calendars, but that's not the thing that's probably going to fix it, right? The thing that's actually going to fix it is the nervous system regulation. And what this really means is that understanding when you are in sympathetic overdrive, so you're hyper functioning, you're overworking, you're like, you feel like you have a monkey mind, you can't focus, your heart rate is up, your breathing is faster. You're just trying to push really hard and you're trying to go and you're really ignoring your body and the cues that it's trying to tell you. You might be very reactive. So you don't think about your meals. You just eat when you're hungry. And then afterwards, you're like, why did I eat that? I feel like crap. You might be yelling at your kids, yelling at your family. You might be speeding. You might be swearing in the car. This is my sign that I am hyper regulated or hyper focused or and overdrive. So that's that state. And then there's also another state in which we are more frozen and we're not actually doing anything. And this would be like that freeze response, which is our sympathetic, also nervous system. But in this area, we are not doing the things that we know we need to do to take care of ourselves, or simply like get up and put the dishes in the dishwasher, or to schedule the call, or to ask for help, or whatever the thing is. We're just like frozen. We can't take action moving forward. And so nervous system regulation is actually noticing that I'm dysregulated and then being able to do small little things to bring yourself back into a regulated state. So it's the noticing of dysregulation and then actually doing something small to bring you back into regulation. So you can do this through different exercises. You can do this through somatic movement. So that means that there's certain ways that you can move your body that will signal to your nervous system that your environment is safe. Dysregulation in of itself is just your body's senses bringing in your environment, telling your nervous system that we're not in a safe environment, even though you are, and it doesn't make sense. But we don't have to make sense of it to know that it's happening. So what we want to do is we want to then create an environment that shows our nervous system that actually we're very safe here. There's certain ways we can move our body. There's certain things that we can like tap on our body. There's meditation, there's breath work, there's walking, there's sunshine, there's grounding, there's journaling. There's so many things that you can do to bring yourself into a regulated state. But even before we get into that dysregulated state, there's so much we can do prophylactically to be able to prevent the dysregulation, or to be able to notice the dysregulation so much quicker than what we do right now in our day and day. Because usually right now you think that the dysregulation that you feel very likely is normal, right? Because if you're sitting in a cubicle next to Susie, she's also dysregulated. So now we've just normalized dysregulation. Or we're sitting in traffic and everyone's dysregulated, or we're sitting in the school drop-off line and everyone's dysregulated, right? So we just start to normalize the dysregulation. And if we can start to put ourselves into an environment, AKA us, that regulation is actually normal and it's possible to feel regulated a lot of your day. The other thing I want you to know is there's nothing wrong with being dysregulated. We are going to go in and out of regulation and dysregulation. We're humans. That's supposed to happen. But what I want you to do is to notice that dysregulated state so much quicker to bring you back into regulation. Because the beautiful thing of being regulated is that it just feels so good. Like you just all of a sudden feel comfortable in your skin. Your thoughts are clear. You make great choices. You feel more present. You feel more joy. And those are all of the things that my clients tell me that they want to feel. And you don't have to lose weight to feel that way. That's the thing, is that everyone thinks that they want to lose 10 pounds to feel that way. And 10 pounds is not going to do that for you whatsoever. That's like that's not going to happen for you. And in fact, when you do that, when you try to lose 10 pounds to then feel like you're going to feel all these wonderful things in your body, you're just actually more disappointed when you lose the 10 pounds to be like, I actually don't feel that way. And now I'm kind of pissed off that I did all of that work. Now, I'm not saying that wanting weight loss or wanting your body to be more fit or more movable or whatever the words are that you want to feel in your body is wrong. That's totally okay. But we want to remember that the way we truly want to feel in our body has very unlikely any attachment to weight loss at all. And that's why you don't hear me talk about weight loss anymore, because that's not actually the thing that brings you to that connection to the safe, trusted, joyous place that we want to feel in our body. So one thing that I want to like kind of bring together under an umbrella, the nourishment that I've talked about in food and then the nourishment of your nervous system, is that the way we bring these two together in harmony And the way we make them feel easeful in our day and day is by also addressing the elephant in the room, which is diet conditioning that we have been under all of our lives. It's the hidden saboteur that takes away our regulation in our nervous system and takes away the deep nourishment that our bodies are actually seeking. So, what is diet conditioning? Diet conditioning is just basically the world has been telling you how to eat, what's right and what's wrong for so long that you look at these answers as the only way to feel safe in your choices. But that safety is very temporary because once you've found that quote unquote answer or the right or wrong way to do the eating and the feeling in your body, it might work for a while. It might not work at all. But then you end up looking for another answer. And you look at that another answer within the diet conditioning rule book, the rules that are out there in the world that we have been conditioned to live by when it comes to eating and how we should feel and act in our bodies and in this world. And you stay stuck in this cycle looking for answers and feeling confused all of the time, right? So many times I hear women how confused they are. They don't know what's right. They don't know what's wrong anymore. And it's because of this conditioning that the world has done to us. I just also want to say that I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm not pointing fingers at Jillian Michaels. I'm not pointing fingers at Weight Watchers. This is an entire global thing. And we can also apply it to so many other areas in our life on how we've been told how to think and feel in our own bodies. And so I just want you to see that this is a collective problem. This is not a one thing issue, but also now that you know that, like, you have so much power within you to make your own decisions and choices, and you don't have to be scared of them. When we learn how to connect to our own bodies to discover the answers our body has for us, we can actually clearly find the solutions our body is asking for. We don't have to keep looking outside of ourselves. We don't have to outsource our health and our autonomy anymore. And we can stop asking for rule books and macro calculations and tell me what to eat less of and tell me what to eat more of. Should I stop eating gluten? Should I stop eating dairy? Do I have food sensitivities? Like all of these things. We get to develop the answers on our own. And I want you to also like let's rewind centuries to our ancestors, like our great grandmothers. They never asked anybody to tell them how to eat and move their bodies. They didn't need to because they were taught to tune into their bodies. That was the only thing that they actually had to calibrate and find answers. They only had compasses. They didn't have maps. And guess what? They were not confused about their bodies. They had the wisdom that they needed to implement the actions that were right and correct for them and their bodies. And now there's so much information thrown at us that we're constantly searching for that right answer. But there's no universal right answer. If there was, we would have found it by now. The right answer is the one that is right for you. And that's the development of agency in your own life, in your health, and your decisions. And like, let's call a spade a spade. Almost everything out there is something with rules. If it has rules, if it's a yes or a no answer, and also if it makes you feel very comfortable in the time being, it's probably a diet. So I want you to pay attention to how often you are drawn like a magnet to an answer that tells you exactly what to do. And if you don't have that answer on exactly what to do, the discomfort that you probably feel in your body is temporary. And it's an invitation to explore what is right for you. We're afraid of making the wrong decisions. We're afraid of doing something bad. And the truth is that you're probably going to make a few wrong decisions. You're probably going to figure out what works and what doesn't work for your body. And then that's going to like clear the pathway for you. And I want you to think about walking down, like, I don't know, like a dark pathway in the woods. And then all of a sudden you get to this beautiful prairie with wildflowers and sunshine. And it's like, heaven on earth for you because you've discovered the answers by yourself. You yourself have found answers for you. And you don't have to go out there and keep seeking the right or wrong answers for yourself. So from there, let's talk about the third pillar, which is a container. And I have a container coming up next week, and it's called From Diet Culture to Body Wisdom. And what a container will provide for you is kind of like a test drive. It is a 5-day test drive, and what it will feel like to actually tune into your body. What does it feel like to have a place where you get to actually focus just on you? Not on a work project, not on your email inbox, not on your kids' football schedule, not on your kids' school schedule, not on math homework, not on somebody else's problem. A place to focus on you, just you. A space where you're encouraged to explore, to try something different, and to connect with others on a similar journey. The thing about a container is that it gives you focus. There are so many things out there that are distracting your focus away from you and away from your body. But if you have a container to be in and you get to completely be in it, you get to put your focus into it. And your focus is your time and your energy. And time and energy is usually the currency that is going to get you to where you want to be. In addition to probably failing it forward and probably making some mistakes and probably trying to find some different solutions. But the focus that you can put on when you actually commit to a container is something that will finally give you the clarity on what is working and what's not working for you. And you also get to connect with others who are tired of looking for external answers, and they're ready to find the answers on their own health. They're ready to feel amazing in their own bodies. They're realizing how much conditioning of diet culture is ingrained in them and noticing that it's not working. And a 5-day container will give you the focus that you need to take the steps forward versus saying, I'll just do it on my own. I'll just try doing this better. I'm just going to track my macros better. I'm just going to go back to that old book that somebody gave me one day, and I'm going to try this, right? But when you keep trying these things over and over again, and you also do it all alone, you're not forming any sort of accountability. Humans need accountability because we're humans and we have minds that distract us and find things that seemingly are more important and need our attention now. That happens to you every single day. It happens to you every single 10 minutes, likely. And so by having a container in which holds you and holds your space for experience and transformation, you're far more likely to succeed versus going at it alone. And also, when you commit to something, it's going to take your time. It's going to take your attention. It's going to take your energy. And this is actually beautiful because when you commit, you're putting yourself into a container of commitment and accountability and finding solutions for yourself versus sitting in indulgent confusion, which means I just don't know. And I'm going to wait and find the answer, and I'm going to do more research, and I'm going to ask somebody, and I'm going to read some more books, or I'm going to go on Google or ChatGPT, or I'm going to try to find some sort of magic solution. Or there's this one thing that is missing that would give me the answers. And my friend, it's never one thing. You're not missing one thing. If anything that you're missing, it's the inability to feel your body and what it's asking you for. That's the thing that you're missing. And that's the thing that probably feels the most fearful for you. But if it feels fearful for you and it feels uncomfortable, that's your invitation to explore it. That's your invitation that this is probably the one thing. But there's no one answer out there in a book or what someone tried or what Facebook told you to do or Instagram or TikTok. It's not that. It's you. You're the one with those answers. And so I encourage you to commit to yourself next week by joining From Diet Culture to Body Wisdom and to remove yourself from indulgent confusion, where you get to sit there and not take any action because you're so confused, to finding total clarity on what your body feels like, how to respond to your body, how to create hormonal balance, and how to create an easeful life in a body that feels like yours. That can be yours. There is no doubt in my mind whatsoever that every woman on this earth can feel comfortable in her skin if she stops outsourcing her decisions and starts insourcing her thoughts, her feelings, her beliefs, and then creating action. Because you're in charge, my friend. And I have no doubt whatsoever that this is totally within your capabilities and your capacity. All right, my friends, if this sounds like something you're ready to do, make sure to head to the show notes and sign up, or head to my Instagram profile at Melissa_Eich, or you can go to the website mindfullywell.com/body-wisdom and sign up. We start on Monday. I hope to see you there.